Hello, I'm Sam Lohman, President of the Art Association, and welcome to TAA Conversations on Art and Peace, a platform where artists, educators, and peace advocates explore how art can encourage peace. In this interview, we reflect on how creativity and trust helps heal, connect, and build a more peaceful world with Marcia Banks, Swiss Association Director of Odyssey of the Mind, longtime coach and mentor to creative teams, and a leader who has championed collaborative, curiosity-driven learning for decades. Since 2005, Marcie has led Odyssey of the Mind, an internationally recognized creative problem-solving program, guiding students to collaborate, think divergently, and incorporate art, among other, into transforming challenge into possibilities. Marcie's career spans classroom teaching and school leadership, including vice principal and curriculum coordinator. She holds an MS in curriculum and instruction and was awarded the U.S. Presidential Award for Excellence in Science and recognized by Phi Delta Kappa as an innovative teacher of the year in Germany. Marcie's leadership of the Odyssey of the Mind program and the problem-solving techniques it advocates, including acting, singing, playing an instrument, set building, costume making, creating props, and more, are unequivocally in harmony with TAA's mission to encourage peaceful engagement through art. Marcie, welcome to TAA Conversations on Art and Peace.
Thank you, Sam.
I'd like to jump right into the questions. You've described creative mindset as being essential for growth, empathy, and peace. How does this creativity do this?
Well, a creative mindset is really about an attitude. It's a way of being, a way of thinking. And creative mindset and being creative are synonymous in many ways, so we'll use those terms probably interchangeably. Creativity is where we start to think differently. And then, of course, innovation is where the creativity really comes to life. So innovation also is a way of thinking. It's a way of considering different ideas, different concepts, potential outcomes, and how we can use technology or art to make new and better things. So that's what we're doing. We're using very simple things and trying to think, I would say, outside the box. That's kind of a buzzword, but we're inside the buzz, but we're trying we definitely look at things from a very different angle. The people with a creative mindset, they approach things with problems with a sense of curiosity. How'd that come about? Why is it there? They want to explore. They want to play with things. They want to explore. They want to experiment with things. They want to try things out. And they have the courage to express themselves and create things without knowing for sure how it's going to come out. They've got an idea, but they're very open to their possibilities. I find that those people with a creative mindset who are creative, they find patterns. They see things that other people don't see right off the bat. And they're paying attention to their own feelings, and they go a lot on intuition. They listen to that first before they kind of analyze things. They're also people that see things in a kind of a fun way. They're seeing how two different things totally unrelated can be similar. So what we do in Odyssey of the Mind is promote that idea. So we might ask them, how is a seashell, for example, similar to a traffic cone? Come up with answers real quickly. So initially, your first answer is probably, well, they're very different. No, we want you to find the patterns. How are they the same? And then we go on those things. So a creative mindset, or someone with creativity and thinks that way, is going to find how those two unrelated ideas are actually very similar. and they're going to try to bridge those ideas. They might even weave it into something that's totally different, totally creative, putting unrelated things to create something completely new. They're not afraid, and I'll go into this trust a little bit later on, but they're not afraid of not getting it right. It's more about the process and having fun in the process and the aha moment and that.
Well, Marcie, I've seen you've touched upon uh, creativity, curiosity, and in your writings as well, you refer to conditions required to make this possible, this creativity. And as I mentioned, curiosity, you mentioned, but you've also referred to experimentation and an interesting concept, the freedom to fail that nurture the process. Could you expand on these conditions that enhance the creative process?
Well, you have a group of people that come from diverse areas and have maybe don't know each other. So the first thing is to explore how we're the same and share those. So creating that sense of community is important. We build on this concept of trust, and that's really complicated. It doesn't just happen, but we need to make that explicit in order for us to achieve something that we all believe in. We've got a common goal. We are going to solve this problem in a creative way, in a way that no one else has done. It's very unique, and we've got these constraints. It's complicated, but we've got to build this trust in ourselves, that it's okay to be who we are, trust in our ideas, as wild as they are, trust in the other members of the team. So I put down the rules. There is no put down. No idea is silly. No idea is, I use the word stupid because that's the term the kids will use. That's all ideas are on the table. And bit by bit, as the ideas come on, there's, aha, oh, I got an idea. And that inspires more ideas. Um, we try to also say, someone would have an idea, and our first reaction is to say something maybe negative about the idea. Oh, yeah, but that's not going to work. So we got to move away from that. And you've got an idea. Before I criticize the idea, I have to find two things that I liked about your idea. And then I've said, well, had you thought about something else? So that builds a sense of trust within the group. So I try to make that very explicit, and we keep going over and over that. And then, of course, once you've got that, then it's that conflict resolution, which really means I'm okay saying something outrageous because I know that might inspire someone else with an idea. And so you've got this conversation going back and forth with these various ideas. And it's not a competition. It's really about building an idea together
Would you
that is
say
even
that
better.
would you say that such an environment of trust would support peaceful collaboration?
Oh, definitely. Oh, definitely. Because you are fine about it expressing yourselves, and it's not about the me. It's no longer about me. It's about the we. And I actually use my fingers with the kids. It's not about the me. It's about the we. And so it's together we form something even more interesting and more creative than what I had come with. So in terms of peace, you need that dialogue. You need the freedom to not know the answer, but maybe ask the question, ask a question. Well, that's the other thing I do with the spontaneous event. If they're trying to solve something very quickly within 8 minutes, and you have a child who really doesn't know what to do, I said, ask questions. Ask questions. Why are there 5 straws there? What could we do with 5 straws? How do we tie in 5 straws with these toothpicks? So it's important to develop this idea of asking questions open-ended questions, not the yes, no. And that's important for peaceful engagement. You've got to have the trust in other people. You've got to be able to ask open-ended questions. You've got to be open to not knowing an idea. You've got to be open that someone's going to add on, modify, switch your idea. So it doesn't belong to you anymore. It belongs to the group. Um, and it's about a common goal. So if you're looking for peaceful engagement, that's your objective up there that
That's
you've all bought
fascinating.
into,
It,
that
it,
you've all bought into.
well, that leads me to the next question, which I'll preface by, of course, the Art Association's mission is to encourage peaceful engagement through art in all its forms. And we are artists and their art centric to the extent that artists can play an incredible role in encouraging peace through their work. So I would like, if you would, please, to apply creative mindset, the act of creating, and how it can influence artists' ability to inspire peace within themselves, their communities, and the world.
It's about telling a story. And for that, you also need to you sit back and reflect on what you're doing. So you can be creative, but there's a flip side to that. You know, creativity and critical thinking are really the same coin, but a flip side. So it's important when you do your art, your storytelling, your singing, your dancing, that, and artists do that. They'll literally step back and look at their piece of artwork and, think about it, reflect about it. You need to do that. That's your feedback. Now, that's a personal feedback, but you need it from the wider audience. So at that point, instead of asking for feedback, because feedback is really going backwards, and either you're going to be critical or you're going to find everything that they're doing well, it is perhaps asking for some advice. What did you change? How can I make this even better? The other thing to consider is how the audience is going to look at it. And that's where empathy comes in. And even with kids, when they solve and I'm going back to my own experience, when they solve a long-term problem, and it could be about a vehicle, they are thinking empathetically because they're actually attributing a personification to that vehicle. So it's a medical rescue character or something like that. But they also have to think, how is the audience going to see this? Are the judges going to laugh? At what point are they going to laugh? Are they going to just say, oh, that's interesting? Or are they going to be blown away and go, wow, I didn't expect that? That is a form of empathy.
Marcie, could you share with us an example of where art has had a positive impact, encouraging engagement and peace?
I'd love to. Several years ago, I met a gentleman called Pierre Dulaine, who is a renowned ballroom dancer. And he noticed back in the 1970s, I believe, that the children lacked respect, they lacked good manners, and he wanted to do something about that. So he introduced ballroom dancing for classrooms, basically going into to schools and promoting a 10-week course on ballroom dancing. In other words, you are dancing with someone else. So you're learning to respect the other person. The gentleman is learning to walk the other person to the center of the dance floor. You acknowledge that person. You are learning together to move in sync. You're practicing together. And it has some wonderful repercussions with the young children. It's a form of art. And several years ago, he was excited about a project that he wanted to do bringing Palestinian children together with Israeli Jewish children. And so he went into different schools and taught his 10-week ballroom dancing. Then there was a competition, but the competition had a rule. The kids had to dance with a partner from the opposite community. And at first, the kids kind of giggled, they were uncomfortable, they didn't want to touch hands. But as he said, once you hold someone's hand, you can't hate them anymore. So there was a tremendous amount of growth that happened during this form of art for these students, which is replicating right now in schools. My grandson is a part of that in Philadelphia. But here is an art that is a rehearsal for empathy. And so those students learn to see the other person, not with a label, but with them as a human being with whom they had something in common. So that, I think, for me, is an example of how art can inspire empathy, and that's based on trust and cooperation and dialogue, and how that sort of physical contact with other people, sharing something together, doing something together that is artistic, can bring peaceful dialogue.
Well, it's a brilliant example, and we should learn from that example. And we certainly encourage this type of real life interaction, which leads to peaceful engagement through art. Applaud Odyssey for the impact it has on the individual participants, on the viewers that attend the events that are held, competitions, if you will, and the overall impact that you are having had countless participants, students over the years go through the process of working together, using art as a tool, amongst others, in order to encourage peaceful engagement, and ultimately, in the case of Odyssey, problem solving. Marcie, on behalf of the Art Association and our global community of artists, educators, and peace builders, thank you for this conversation. Your life's work shows that creativity is a practice of peace. When we invite curiosity, allow room to try and fail, and build trust in ourselves and one another, communities become stronger, kinder, and more resilient. You've reminded us that art nurtures inner confidence, cross-cultural understanding, and a shared sense of purpose and problem solving. As you put it, quote, art is not only a personal act of expression, but also a social act of connection.
It is. I wish it is. I wanted to say that.
And transformation. And in that sense, creativity itself can become a practice of peace building. Thank you, Marcie, for inspiring us to imagine and to make a more peaceful world.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you. And it's not about competition, Sam. It's not about rivalry. It's about cooperation in all that we do.
And in our case, never underestimating the role of the artist and their art in the process of encouraging inner, community, and global peace.
Well, thank you, Sam. Thank you.